Well, the model is simple. Strength in numbers. Labor unions in America date back their roots to the 18th century, predated just barely by a 1768 Taylor strike in New York City over wage reduction. And that model, too, hasn't changed either. Last week, the United Automobile Workers walked out of their big three Detroit car companies. That's GMC, Ford, and Stellantis, the parent company of Jeep and Chrysler. And the union wants wage increases, more time off, better requirements, better retirements, and more. Now, the strike is on day 5 now, where 13,000 auto workers are leaving 3 factories completely empty, meaning they're not making new car parts, which is a problem considering that mechanics across the country have fought a car part shortage since the days of COVID. But they add this, could only make it worse. Here's Andrew Bartline.
Inside a State Street-based body shop runs a well-oiled machine. Hard at work, but always watching the clock.
Sometimes I forget that car's even here.
Because time is money.
Waiting for parts for 3, 4, maybe 5 months before you get something in. We're kind of
Corey Roberts
left just waiting.
Counts on deliveries like this.
Christmas morning where you're just like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this for so long.
It's a new reality of the industry.
Ever since COVID, it's been harder to order parts because people aren't working in the factories as much. Before, if you had any parts that were wrong or incorrect or damaged, you could just call up Dennis Dillon or Larry Miller because they had an abundance of parts.
The abundance now bunched into unfinished projects.
It affects our paychecks. It affects, all of our guys that are paid commission here. If cars aren't leaving here, they're not getting paid.
Get them in, get them out. That's the name of the game.
We have at least 25 cars in our lot just waiting for parts.
But the problem, potentially made worse by an auto worker strike.
I think policymakers need to, both on the worker side, on the union side, and on the management side, need to think this very carefully, that this strike could ultimately, along with other factors, trigger a recession.
Stephen Peterson's an associate professor of economics at the University of Idaho.
Part of what's fueling this is the labor shortages across the United States put wage pressure as well.
The auto union is asking in part for cost of living adjustments, more vacation time, and, in their words, big wage increases. They argue CEO pay spiked 40% in 4 years. They want the same.
In the United States, for a very long time, people at the top of the food chain, they tend to do very well. And I think it's part of our culture that they do so. What do you do about CEO salaries? I'm not sure there's a good solution for that.
What does a family-owned business do without their parts?
Those people not working kind of is a trickle-down effect.
Kobe doesn't have a good solution for that either.
But if people aren't working and people aren't making those parts, there's nothing that we can do because there's not very many people in those jobs.
Losing time, losing money.
We hope that it just keeps on getting better and hopefully the strike ends so that everyone kind of, is happy.
Professor Peterson says we are at a time of low employment and a worker shortage. It's a rare combination, and that does give workers more power to bargain, especially in negotiations like this. He says inflation is creeping up, though, and if unemployment starts to increase, too, that is a combination that concerns him the most in terms of he's concerned about a potential recession and this being a contributing factor to that. As for these local mechanics and auto body shops, these parts, few and far between, Joe, they expect it to get worse. It's just logical. Supply and demand, not a lot of supply, and if new ones aren't being made, well, that's going to hurt them further because there's only so many parts out there, and there's a lot of cars waiting on their lots that they need parts to fix them.
And they really can't do anything about it until they get those parts. It's not like they're just going to grow on a tree somewhere.
Well, I made a joke when I was talking to him. He's like, sometimes it's just a little clip, right, to get the bumper to fit in. And we're waiting months on this clip. And I'm like, zip tie it. He's like, it came in with a zip tie. I can't send it out with a zip tie. That's the problem we're trying to fix, man. So stuff like that.
And it's an interesting trickle-down effect because in the workers' perspective, the people that are striking, they're trying to make a point that we deserve more money. We deserve to be able to, make a living for ourselves while they say, in their opinion, these CEOs are making too much money.
Yep.
If you take a look, though, at the butterfly effect, the trickle-down, you can see that their actions, it impacts small businesses all the way out here in Idaho.
I think it's probably part of their argument, too, at those strikes is showing the value of their work. What are the impacts, larger impacts, if they don't show up to work? Another piece of that income inequality they were really big on, talking about what the CEO makes compared to a worker that is necessary for the business to function. Professor Peterson said, like, nobody's out there protesting Patrick Mahomes for making, what does he make, $55 million a year?
More than us.
But he also says that the piece you need to understand, CEOs in America compared to other countries, specifically European countries, they do make a lot more in the United States. So he's not surprised to see this happening.
Well, we'll see how long the strike goes on for and what the impacts are locally here in Idaho. Andrew Bartline reporting. Thanks, Andrew.